campaign setup options. One of the first things that I'm going to recommend when you're setting up a campaign is something called a 1, 1, and 1 ad structure. I'm going to explain this step by step. That is one campaign, one ad set, one control ad. If you are brand new and you're like, man, what should I test? Testing is the most expensive thing that you can do. Like Rochelle asked a really great question. What about if I want to test all these headlines? And clients ask me that. And I'm like, yeah, sure. We're going to spend about $60 to $80 per headline. How many headlines do you want to test? Oh, by the way, we have to test it for 3 to 4 days. And they're like, oh, that's expensive. Yeah, let's make sure the idea and concept works, and then we can test more headlines. So let's like pick a theme. So if you're just starting out, what I would say is, okay, let's get one campaign. Let's just get an audience cluster. I'm going to target people who are not, I'm not going to target entrepreneurs. That's a wide open audience. I'm going to target people who are new business owners in the last 6 months who are in this type of income, who live in this type of the country. Like I want to get really specific. That's my audience cluster. So I'm going to put a bunch of different interests in the audience, but they're not one big broad interest of people who like green. It's very specific that they read these types of books, look at these types of magazines, watch these TV shows, enjoy this type of topic. That's my audience cluster, my audience. And then one ad creative. So like I called a bunch of my friends before who left comments on my post, and I'm just like, hey, look, I want you to test a strategy. I'm going to make it super simple. Get one campaign, spend $20 a day. Get one audience, one ad set, take your control ad that's worked best before and that at the ad level. I don't care if you're going to put in 5 headlines, 5 descriptions, or if you're just going to use a post ID, just use a post. But if you are getting started and you want to test this strategy, we run probably 50 or 60% of our campaigns with this structure right here. This is, Nick, I should name this kind of what Ezra Firestone does with his stuff. Like this should be the upsigned bottle top. This is the cattle corral where we just send cattle. This is the exact message to the exact audience. I want you to look at the exact creative. I don't want to waste money on any different variables or any different placements. I just want you to do this one thing. This is great for the $20 a day, 30 for any of your structures, leads, sales. This works great to test stuff out. So Rochelle, if you had an idea that you wanted to test on a certain hook, you would test a certain video with a certain hook, 5 headlines, 5 descriptions. That's a 1 in the ad control, 1 audience, and you're just going to see how well it does. But you're just testing like this. You're just testing the 1, 1, and 1. Very easy, no variables. Okay. Second thing I do, I want to start testing creatives. So sometimes I'm just going to have a campaign that I'm forcing the cattle corral down. Now let's say I want to test a little bit. Okay. So when I'm going to test a little bit, I'm going to set up a 1, 1, and 2 structure. I'm going to have it's one campaign. It's always one campaign, one ad set, one audience, and 2 different ad creatives at the ad level. We run probably 30%, maybe even 40% of our ads in this combination. Most of our ads are a 1, 1, and 1. Some ads that we're testing, we do a 1, 1, and 2, 1 campaign, 1 ad set, 1 audience, and then 1 video, 1 image. And I'll show you how to test it. One video, 1 image, test it like this. Once you publish your first ad and you got that 1, 1, and 1 published, you publish the ad. Oh, that's great. Now what you're going to do, I don't know why that shows up there. Let me just take this out, make it easy. There we go. Get out of here. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on these 3 little dots on the ad level. So I'm going to click on these 3 little dots at the ad level. I'm going to click quick duplicate right there, and it's just going to automatically duplicate me the exact same ad. All I'm going to do at this point is come into this ad. The copy is the exact same. I'm not changing any of the copy, any of the headlines. I'm not changing anything. I'm going to put, if I put an image in the first ad, now I'm going to change the image for a video in the second ad. I am just testing the image and video creative. Headlines and everything else stays the same. So the structure, 1 campaign, 1 audience, 1 ad set. At the ad level, I'm testing 2 ads. They both have the exact same copy. The only difference is 1 has a video, 1 has an image. That's it. Now, what Facebook will do is, many of you know this, but I need to cover this for everyone on the phone. What Facebook will do is Facebook will not scientifically figure out, hey, I'm going to go ahead and send a bunch of traffic in between these 2 creatives. You're just going to find out that Facebook's just going to serve more traffic to one creative than the other. It doesn't mean that the other is bad. Facebook just figured out in its early estimations that this is send more traffic here. So what's going to happen is sometimes the second ad won't work. Okay. You're just giving Facebook a little bit more data than that 1, 1, and 1, just to see if it makes a little bit difference in your improvement. That's it. Here's where I'm going to test and get a little crazy. It's going to get a little crazier around here. So when I'm building stuff really quick, so I already know I have this 1, 1, and 1. That's my control. I know I have an audience that's working. I know I have an ad creative that's working. Now I want to start my creative testing. Great. So I just give you one way to start your creative testing. That is the 1, 1, and 2, or the 1, 1, and 2, the ad creative and the image and the video. Now the next structure is a 1, 2, and 2. 1 campaign, 2 ad sets, and then of course at the ad level, you're going to have 2 ads in ad set 1, 2 ads in ad set 2. So basically what you're going to do is you are going to publish your you're going to publish your 1, 1, and 1 structure, right? When you publish that first campaign and you have that 1 ad set and you have that 1 ad, or sorry, let me back up. I apologize. When you do a 1, 2, and 2 structure, you are going to copy the last campaign that you did that had that 1, 1, and 2 structure. So when you are done with this, once you have set this up and you are running this test, sometimes what I do is I duplicate this campaign. So I'm duplicating the campaign. I have 1 ad set, 2 ads. I'm going to duplicate the campaign into a second campaign. And when I duplicate that second campaign, I'm going to duplicate the ad set at the ad set level. So this time I'm going to have 2 ad sets, and I'm going to have 2 creative ads at the end of each ad set. And it's going to look like this. 1 campaign, I'm testing 2 ad sets, same audience. Now what I'm doing is I'm doing 2 completely different creatives at the ad level. So ad number 1 is going to have a video and is going to have an image. So I'm going to have 1 ad set. I'm going to show you an example here in a second. We're going to have 1 video and 1 image with the same 5 headlines and the same 5 descriptions. Okay, because we are testing, we're testing the ad creative. So ad creative number 1, ad creative number 2, the second ad set, same audience. The creatives in the second ad set at the ad level are going to be completely a different video and a completely different image, and completely different headlines and a completely different angle for post description. So what I'm asking Facebook to do is I'm saying, hey, Facebook, I'm going to test in the same audience, 2 ad sets targeting the same audience. I have 2 ads for each ad set. I have 4 different ads. I have 2 big ideas I'm testing. 1 big idea, I might be talking about micro budgets. In this ad creative with the 1 video and the 1 image and the 2 ads, I may be talking about micro budgets. When I duplicate and I get the next ad set and I have another image and another ad, I may be talking about the AI advertising primer. It could be completely different subject matter. It lands to the same landing page, but I want to see, I'm targeting the same audience. Which ads does Facebook serve and start to convert? So I want to make sure in the very beginning, I'm doing a 1, 1, and 1 to get started. As I'm testing out another creative, as I'm testing more creatives, the 1, 2, and 2 structure just gets a little bit more aggressive in testing. Again, I'm testing such small budgets. Either one of the ads are going to work or all of them won't. One of the 2 is going to happen. That's it. I'm not looking for statistical information on why is this ad doing great. If I duplicate the campaign 20 times and I see how the ad performs, great. But if I just see that the ads, like 3 ads don't serve, just 1 does, I don't figure out why does that happen. I know I'm testing with a small budget. I'm asking Facebook to test a lot, and I'm just asking Facebook to guess on the best the best ad to run with. That's it. There's just no way we're going to test with these small budgets, like all the different variables. I don't really care as long as it's a low CPA. And I'm going to show you how we're going to spot this out in a minute. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to start audience testing creatives. And what I mean by that is this. This is a little bit more advanced, but here's what this looks like. It's a 1, 3, and 2. Gets a little confusing when I say this, and I'm happy to answer questions around this. I'll stop here and when I answer questions around these combinations. 1 campaign, 3 different ad sets. Sorry, this needs to say 3. I apologize. Let me go back here. This needs to be 3 different ad sets. Come on. 1, 2, and 1, 1, 2, and 1. 1, 3, and 2. Here we go. Come on. Okay, so here's what this is. Sorry about that. 1 campaign, 3 ad sets. At each ad set level, we're going to have the exact same ad. 1 campaign, ad sets, 3 different audiences. Because now I have an ad that I know that works. I'm just going to test a whole bunch of different audiences. We are siloing our testing. So I'm going to have 3 different ad sets, 3 different audiences. But at the ad creative level, I'm just going to have 1 video, 1 image. They're the exact video, the exact same image for all 3 ad sets here. Because I'm not testing images or creatives, I'm only testing audiences. It's a little bit more complicated. It's not complicated setup. It's just if you have a little bit more money to test. But if we really want to test a whole bunch of creatives at once, I'm going to start testing the 1, 2, and 2 method that I showed you. And then the 1, 3, and 2 method is I'm now testing audiences. Which audiences is this serving to? Okay. Now, sometimes I'll test a 3rd ad set. Click the button for dynamic ads. This is, I don't want to say super advanced, but this is, hey, look, I've tested lots of different creatives. Now I just want to throw something up and see what happens. I'm going to have 1 campaign, 3 different ad sets, 2 of the I'm going to have 3 different ad sets. I should say 3 different audiences. I apologize. There should be 3 different audiences. And then what I'm going to do is in 1 of the ad sets, I'm going to click the button for dynamic creatives, why it still lasts. That's it. And I just want to see, is Facebook going to serve ads to my ad set 1? Are they going to serve the ads in ad set 2? Are they going to serve the dynamic ads? They're not going to serve any ads at all. What does that look like? Again, many times I have released, I got to know the exact reason why it's working. No, as long as I set up the special code combination, like a code to a safe, and it works. And as long as I'm down the right track, I know it's not a lucky guess because I'm very methodical of how we're planning this out. But how the numbers work out at the end of the day, I just let Facebook's AI to do that. So I'm just testing a whole bunch of different stuff at once. All right, so here's the campaign evaluations as we round this out. Then I'll give you some over-the-shoulder examples and some metrics. So I do the 2.5-day evaluation rule. And essentially what that is, with a micro-budget approach, you're going to know within 3 days, for the most part, is your campaign performing well or not. And the quick evaluation window allows you to make fast decisions and reiterate or iterate your strategy. So a lot of you are just going to be testing this over 2.5 days. The first 24 hours are interesting. By the 2nd day, you should start to see some trends emerge. I'm cutting ads by 2.5 days. So I'm just going to give you some easy numbers. Let's say we're running a campaign for a $10 lead cost. I'm going to fire up $20 a day for my micro budget. Day 1, we run $20, nothing happens. Dang. Day 2, nothing happens. Dang. There's a small chance I might have 2 leads come in or 3 leads come in, and that's half day on that 3rd day, maybe. But usually it doesn't get better. Usually it either strikes a vein of gold right away or it just doesn't pick up. I'm not interested in spending $300 to figure out if there's a vein of gold there. I can figure out for $20 a day after 2.5 days that if we're not hitting any gold in that pay dirt, I'm just going to stop it. And some people are like, but you're 3 feet from gold. Yeah, but if I dig more holes, I hit more gold. So I don't need to dig myself a bigger money hole. I need to figure out where the gold veins are, and I can do that every 2.5 days. Now, if you have a higher price product, let's say it's a $100 product, $300 product, you may want to wait 3 or 4 days. But what we'll do is we can take a look at metrics. Like, okay, are people clicking on your ad? Yeah, man, we get a 2.5% click-through rate. That's great. What's the cost of people landing on your site? It's like 50 cents. It's usually $1.50. Oh, we brought down the cost by a third. That's great. Let's just wait a couple more days and see, what do these people on the website, what do they do? Because all we're doing is we're just running really qualified traffic, and we can start to see, do we think we're targeting the right people? Yeah. If they read our ad creative or watch our video, do we believe we're pre-qualifying those people? Yeah, we have a long form post and a really great video. Okay. So even with $20, we're still getting people over to the site. When they're on the site and they're qualified, what are they doing on the site? So it can absolutely work for $200, $300 products and more, just targeting very specific parts of the funnel. What I like to do is this. I always give the analogy of basically 3 things that we're doing with micro budgets. We're either going to cut it, we're done, stop. We're going to, or we're going to just duplicate the campaign and double it and scale it. I'm going to get more into that in just a second. So if I have a winning ad and I see that I am bringing in leads for, let's just say my goal is $10 and I'm bringing in leads for $5, and I have 3 or 4 leads, not just one, but I've seen this happen 3 or 4 times. I've hit gold in my pay dirt, and I'm just going to duplicate the campaign. Nothing gets changed. I'm just going to duplicate the campaign. I'm not going to raise the budget. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to change anything. What I want to do is I want to show Facebook, hey, Facebook, you see this campaign that's highly relevant that you're getting me leads for? I just want another one of those. I don't want to expand my targeting. I'm not going to expand my budget. I want to leave that cattle corral right there to make sure that they do exactly what I want them to do. I'm just going to start digging another hole looking for gold, but looking for the exact same amount of the exact same person. So if you are new starting out, every 2.5 days, you're just going to look and say, okay, do I toggle this off? Like you'll see me here in just a little bit. I'll look through some client accounts. All I'm doing is scrolling my eyes down the screen to see if over 2.5 days, my cost per sale or my lead cost is too high, and I turn it off. And if my lead cost or my sales cost is right where it is after 2.5 days, I just duplicate at the campaign level. Nothing else changes. Nothing. I'm going to talk about scaling here in just, I'll talk about scaling here in just a couple of minutes. But all we do is either going to cut or we're going to duplicate. Now, remember where I talked about that we are going to do, if you're experienced, you do 2 or 3 different ad sets, or you do 2 ads at the ad set level. I call that prune. Every 2.5 days, if I am running more than one ad set, more than one ad creative in a campaign, every 2.5 days, after the first 2.5 days, I'm going to look, and then I'm going to look daily. But after the first, after the first 2.5 days, I'm going to go ahead and click inside of my campaign. I'm going to click at the ad set level, and then I'm going to click at the ad level. And I want to see, okay, out of all these different ads that have been serving, what's the one that just seems to be working, or the 1 or 2 that's working? I'll just turn everything else off. So pruning is if you have more than one ad creative or more than one ad set, after 2.5 days, if you don't have anything, you just turn it off. But if you have something, you want to figure out, where did that something come from? Was it the audience? Was it the creative? And you just prune the stuff that's not working after 2.5 days. And then if it starts working really well after I prune it, I just duplicate it. So right now, the 3 concepts I want to get by is the cut. You just turn it off after 2.5 days. It's not going to get better. The prune, if you're running more than one creative in a campaign, that's pruning. Start that at 2.5 days. Or you're just going to duplicate the campaign. That's it. That's all you're going to do. That is it. What happens is pretty soon there'll be some that you dig in pay dirt and it doesn't work. And the stuff that does work, you're going to double down on it. So as you start to double down every 2 days and duplicate campaigns, I'll show you when we go over the shoulder on Saturday. I spent $125 a day. Now I'm spending $5 grand. How? From doing exactly what I'm showing you right here. But I got to tell you, when I take someone from $125 a day to $5 grand a day, that's because they have good creatives and they have a winning offer. Like I wouldn't do that with one of you where it's, oh my goodness, you just got a webinar, you started, you sold a little bit. Now let's spend a bunch of money and get a whole bunch of people there. No, like this offer is proven. So that's how we're able to really scale up that quickly. But that's all we're doing. It's like pruning a tree. Are we going to go ahead and just stop it? Are we going to prune it? Or are we just going to let it grow? Rapid testing. Micro budgets can allow you to test a whole bunch of different stuff all at once. If I have a smaller budget, I'm going to test lots of different creatives in this 1-2-2 method, or one, like I'm going to figure out what a control is with my 1, 1, and 1. Like I want to make sure I'm targeting the right audience, the right time with the right creative. I want to get my baselines there. But then I'm going to test pretty fast with these $20, and I'll go back to a client and I'll say, hey, look, I spent $150 on this. Let's just make this up. Let's say they gave me a video and some copy. Great. I'm going to test that. And I'll show you this in an example. I'm going to test your ad creative in 3 different cold audiences. And I'm going to test your ad creative in a warm audience. So that's 4 different campaigns. We're going to test your creative into 3 top of funnel campaigns, 1 middle of funnel. So that's 4 campaigns, right? Testing the 1 creative and the 1 piece and the different variations of copy related to that 1 piece of content. Excuse me for just a second. Hang on 1 second, Nick. I'm going to pause. I got to cough for a second. Okay, sorry about that. So now what's going to happen? Let's say we're spending $20 a day. We have 4 campaigns. So the very first day, we're going to spend $80 across 3 different types of top of funnel, 1 middle of funnel. Great. Second day, we're going to spend another $80. We're at $160. I should see some trends that are starting to emerge. I should. By that midday of day 3 at 2.5, we would have spent probably close to $200 at this point. Here's where I can make an easy determination. Out of those $200, and again, I'm going to go into stats here in just a couple of minutes. Out of those $200, if we didn't make any sales from that creative out of 3 cold market audiences and 1 middle of funnel audience, the creative obviously doesn't work. We're good. And I'll go to clients, I'll be like, hey, we just tested $200 on this video you gave us and it doesn't work. And they're like, my last agency would spend $1,000 just to see if it worked or not. Yeah, because they weren't doing the right thing. I can tell you within $200. So please, client, I tell clients this all the time, don't go make me a piece of content that's $5,000. I just need a simple piece of content. So for me, I run it $1 a day for the first 5 to 7 days to see if it qualifies. If it does, I'm going to run it as a $20 micro budget. And I'm going to start scaling it from there. And if I know the creative works, I'm going to test it in 3 proven audiences, 1 middle of funnel. I'll know within $200 if that thing doesn't work. Client, just give me more creatives. I don't need to waste your money. I know exactly who I'm targeting, exact copy that's working, the ad that's working. And if I test it 4 different ways and it doesn't work, then I know it just doesn't work and I go to the next one. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. Flexible options. There's lots of options here based on the 2.5 day evaluation. You can change lots of different bids. You can test lots of different stuff in here, but really just keep it really simple. Every 2.5 days, make an assessment, test something a little bit different, launch again, make an assessment in 2.5 days. This is absolutely 100% scalable. We can use this for $20 a day with somebody who just wants to have 1 campaign, 1 ad set, 1 ad. Great, $20 a day. This can work anywhere from, like I said, $10,000 a day, $20,000 a day on up. Once you get there, but you can absolutely, it's actually really easy to scale this much because let's just say I'm just making this up. You have 20 campaigns that are running and 10 of them are winning. Well, you just duplicate the 10 that are winning. Now you're at your 20, wait another day, duplicate all the stuff that's winning again. All of a sudden you can grow in such a huge rate where I used to take an ad and I would adjust the campaign budget 30% and wait for 3 days to see what happens. Adjust another 30%, wait 3 days, see what happens. Man, I can scale so much faster with micro budgets than I can just waiting 3 days by adding 30%. So let's round up the numbers here. So here's what this looks like. $20 a day test. Again, I want to test multiple audiences with a creative. I just walked through this. I want to test 3 or 4 different audience segments to identify the most responsive groups. Like that's one of the first things that I want to do with a winning ad creative. But at the same thing, I want to make sure I have a winning ad creative, right? I want to test a whole bunch of different creatives to audiences, not a lookalike audience or a broad audience that I absolutely know that'll work. Short duration. Again, we're talking about 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days. But again, remember this statement. It's not going to get better. It's just not going to get better. It's the way it works, right? If you're a beginner, I want you to do this. 1, 1, and 1. This is all I want you to focus on. All I want you to focus on is just test 1 campaign with 1 audience and 1 creative and evaluate every 48 hours. This is one of the greatest ways that all of you could get implemented with this as soon as we're done with the training or literally on Saturday morning is wake up, set up a 1, 1, and 1 campaign with everything that we gave you, let it run for $20. Let's see what happens on Monday. That's it. 1, 1, and 1 if you're a beginner. If you're intermediate, if you're somebody who's run some ads before, Michael's perfect example. You can test a 5, 5, and 5. Test 5 different audiences with 5 different campaigns, 5 different creatives, evaluate every 48 hours. Right? Easy. All we're basically doing, the difference between a beginner, intermediate, and advanced is testing. So when people come and they're like, Kurt, I don't want to run my ads. I don't even want to learn it. I want you to run it. Okay, I need to test a bunch of stuff to figure out what works, because what works, we're really going to scale. But I need to pay for me, my brother, my employees, Nick. I got to pay for a whole bunch of stuff. Plus, we're going to need to test a lot of information in a small amount of time. That's the $10,000 swing within about 2 weeks. So if you have $10,000 to test, all we're going to do is test more. If you can test on your own, this is great to test on your own. Great to test on your own. 1-on-1, 5-and-5. Like, this is what the agency does, right? I'm doing this. I'm testing a whole bunch. Like, I will take with a brand new client that we just scaled from that $150 a day on Friday to where we're at now. I just took 5 creatives that they had and I researched 5 different audience clusters. So if I tested one creative, I would test one creative with 5 different types of audiences. These are all different campaigns. I have lots of so I have 5. So I basically have 25 different combinations, right? 5 audiences, five creatives. Very quickly, I can tell within 3 or 4 days which combination's working well and what I double down on. So the last 3 days to really scale this campaign, I'm just looking at all these different campaigns I'm running, checking all of them down the list that are $5 leads and below, because they're looking for $10 leads. And then I just hit duplicate. Next day I come in, oh, we've had some campaigns run for 2 or 3 days. I've seen we've got not 1 or 2 leads, we've gotten 4 or 5 or 6, like it's duplicatable. I'm just gonna hit duplicate and then we just grow from there. So here's the baseline stats that someone was asking about before. So we're gonna get into landing page stats here in just a second, but here's the way the stats go. If you're just getting started, I look for 100 clicks on my ad. That's how I can tell, are people actually clicking on my ad? Honestly, with the $20 a day budget, do you need 100 clicks on an ad to determine if it works or not? Usually no. But if someone's, I just want to make sure I'm testing this one creative. So how do I make sure I've tested enough the creative? Okay. Did you run it in 3 different top of funnel audiences, 1 middle of funnel? Yeah, I've already done that. Okay. Did it work? Not really. I'm not quite sure what didn't work about it. Okay. Let's get 100 clicks then. And we're going to see what happens when 100 people click on your ad. What do they do after that? But let's get to that first spot so we can really see, is it your ad creative, right? So if you're not really quite sure, we're going to see if it's your ad creative. If you're not getting the leads or sales, we'll see, is it your creative or do we need to move next? And again, I'll show you some easy benchmarks here in a second. The second one is, okay, we got people to click on my ad. Now that we know that people are clicking on my ad, what are they doing on my website? I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with Nick where I'm like, man, ads aren't working for this person. Ads like, and Nick's, yeah, it's because we've had like 20 people visit the website. That's not enough to statistically validate. So if you're already getting someone that you know that can click through on your ad at 1.5% click-through rate, and you get 100 clicks and nothing really happens, then you know it's your ad. But if you get 100 clicks and you see your ads working well, let's get 100 page visitors. What happens when we get 100 people to your page? And sometimes you may need to test a couple of different ad creatives to make sure the hook lines up with the page. But now let's see what happens with people on the page. I'm going to give you numbers for page numbers in just a second. If we can get 100 people to click on our ad, and we can get 100 people to go to our website, and we can get 100, and we can get people to add to our add to cart, how do we improve our sales? Then this is where we start improving the sales conversion, where we say, okay, we see where people's moving through the funnel. The next thing for us to do is to really improve things. And this is really the goal for Facebook. FYI, if you're able to get 100 conversions in a month, 100, Facebook puts you in a different algorithm for traffic. It's customized more to you. Otherwise, you get generalized traffic until you get up to that 100 conversions in a month. Sorry, it's 100 conversions in a week. I'm sorry. 100 conversions in a week. If you get to 100 conversions in a week, you get customized audiences. I'm sorry, not customized audiences. Facebook will treat you a little bit differently with the algorithm than they treat everybody else. So if we're working on clicks, working on landing page visits, great. When it comes time to working to conversions, as we start ramping up conversions, we actually get some better traffic. I like to do this. Pretty much if you're just starting out, for $100, you can test everything that I mentioned. $20 a day, test out different audiences. I just want to make sure I call it the 100 test. Did I get 100 clicks? Yep. Did I get 100 page visits? Yep. Was I able to get 100 conversions? Nope. Okay, I got to work on the conversion part. Great. I can test a lot of this for $100 for ads to see how people get to my website. I'm going to have to spend over $100 as I'm getting people to my website to optimize my website to understand what are people doing to my site, right? But I can absolutely, for $100, I can test an element, I can gather data, and I can make some really good decisions. Here's my rules for moving people through the funnel, okay? Here's what this looks like. It's called the 30% rule. So if you are getting people to a website, we are looking for them to, 30% of them to make the next move in the funnel. So really easy. If you were looking to collect leads, 30% of the people who click on your ad should be becoming a lead or more. If it's below 30%, we know we have to work on our opt-in. If someone opts into our website to become a lead at a 30% rate, and let's say it's a webinar, again, the next step of the funnel, they opted in, the webinar's on Thursday. I want a minimum of 30% of the people to show up to the webinar. 30% to opt in, 30% to move to the next funnel. If I can get 30% of the people to show up to the webinar, Nick, I think today we were like at 70%, which was amazing. If we can get 30% of people to the webinar, then I want 30% of the people attending the webinar, 30% to move to the next spot, to move to from the webinar to the sales page. The 30% of people who move to the sales page, from the sales page to the next step is called a buyer. Each step of the funnel, you want 30% of the people to take the next step. If you are sending people to an e-commerce site and you are selling Celtic jewelry, I want roughly 30% of those people adding to cart because I have the greatest offers ever. 30% of people who go to your website, people who go to your website, let's just say Celtic jewelry e-com store. They just see an ad and they go right to an e-com store, not a sales page or anything else. This is why sales pages help. They just go to the e-com store. Okay, great. 30% of those people should click on something that piques their interest that can sell them, like the next step in the funnel, like checking out a bundle pack. Great. So if 30% of website visitors go check out your bundle pack, if 30% of those people add to cart, and 30% of the people who add to cart end up buying, again, 30% for each step in the funnel, you usually get to this magic number. The magic number for most of you out there is if all of your website visitors, for all the people who visit your site, the very front end of your website, you should be able to you should be able to sell between 3 and 5% purchase conversion rate. So at the very beginning of your funnel, for all those website visitors who hit the beginning of the funnel, all those people who end up buying, if you are between 3 to 5%, 3 to 5% of all website visitors end up buying, you are in a sweet spot to scale. Depending on your pricing, if you're selling higher dollar stuff, your conversion can be a little bit lower. That's why sometimes I laugh when people are like, I run high ticket sales for people and I book high ticket sales and I sell this $50,000 high ticket sales process. When I hear that, what I hear is, oh man, there's so much money I can burn with ads. And you still think you make money because of high ticket, but I can burn so much of your money. But if you have an e-commerce company who they can only afford to sell something at 25 bucks, we have to be really strategic. So somebody who has a high-end coaching with high-end products, you can waste a lot of money. They're not great marketers. They just spend a lot of money to get there. If you want to be a great marketer to get a 3 to 5% conversion rate, this can help if you're an e-commerce company, coaching company, whatever, but typically in between this rate and above 5% conversion rate, you're going to have a profitable ad campaign and you're going to see green on your balance sheet. Here's an example of something we ran just last month for a client. Look at this. July 1st through August 2nd, we made $224,000, about $100,000 in spend. You can see we have it, and now the little bars coming up. 2 row ads. Look at this. These are all the budgets. Remember, I like to test different stuff. One of the things I like to test is maybe I'm going to test $11 a day. My brother likes the number 11, so we put that in there. Maybe I'm going to test 20. Maybe I'm going to test 30. This is an apparel company. So this apparel company right here is, you can see all the budgets that we're using, and you can see the return on ad spend. You can see the cost per sales that we're getting right here. Our goal is a $50 cost per sale. Great, we're right there. So advanced techniques as we run this out. Combine running micro budgets with the $1 a day strategy, something we talk about all the time. Test new creatives, just iterations of new creatives. I love testing lots of new creatives because AI makes it super easy. Rapid scaling with micro budgets. And then troubleshoot and optimize. So after 2.5 days, if this works or not. And then I look at stats every 2 to 4 days, meaning I'm just going to look at some windows, what's going on. I'm looking at trends, and I'm looking at my stats overall for 7 days. So if I have 3 bad days, but overall for the 7-day period, my conversions are in line, I just let them run. Here's the interesting thing with micro budgets. Micro budgets may run for 3 or 4 days for you, and they work for the first 2 or 3 days, and then they stop and you turn them off. Every week, I look at all of my paused ads. Every week, I find micro budget campaigns that were not performing, that once I turn them off, sales or leads attributed to them over 24 hours that made them just gangbusters to turn on again. So sometimes you will turn off stuff a little too early. Would you rather turn off stuff too early to only turn it back on later? Or would you rather just burn money and realize you didn't turn it off soon enough? These micro budgets are like, oh man, I turned that off. Oh, well, wait a minute, I can just turn it back on. It's not, oh my God, how did I spend so much money? It just didn't work. I'm going to review everything monthly. Like I said, I'm going to look at my paused ads monthly as well. And then troubleshooting. By the way, Learning Limited, I was almost going to do a slide on this. I have some ad campaigns that are just full of all these red buttons that says Learning Limited. And I'm half the cost of my goal. I don't give a shit about their Learning Limited. Learning Limited just basically tells me that their algorithm is digging in a very small, specific hole, and it would like some room to roam around. Nah, I'm going to give you a little bit of money to do exactly what I told you to do. I don't want you to do anything else. I'm not going to give you any more money. And I don't care if you say it's Learning Limited basically tells you as an advertiser, FYI. A lot of people are like, oh, I got to get out of Learning Limited because of blah, blah, blah. No, the casinos, if you gave us more money, it would be better. And then now we're just conditioned to be like, oh, I need to get out of this red mark. That's why it's red. No, you don't need to do anything. It's actually working like gangbusters, but more people are like, but the casino said they needed more money. Casino doesn't need any more money. Man, this is really great feedback, Nicholas. We got lots of questions in here. Feedback to what time? There we go. Big idea that stood out, using the phrase, examples for each one, which is great. Yep, Reginald, everything that we do here is CBO. So when you talk about a 1, 3, 2, that is absolutely CBO. Scott was in the very first mastermind I ever attended with Keith Baxter. Old school. He's been doing this a long time. How often does second campaign work, but maybe if it's duplicated, one of them? So what I actually do is every time I duplicate a campaign, I'll show you this in over the shoulder here in just a second. Every time, let me just a second. There we go. Nick, I'm just curious, what do you see on your end? Do you see 3 images or do you just see my image? The only reason I ask is I'm always wondering for the recording. Do you see all 3 spots or just this one video? You can answer me when you get a chance. It's not a big deal.
Sorry, okay. I was muted. I see you, and
that's okay.
And then a little version of you up top.
Okay, perfect. And my version, that's what I want to make sure. On my version, it shows three titles, which makes it weird to edit, whatnot. Okay, so as we jump in this here is, how often does the second campaign not work, but maybe if it's duplicated more than one of them should? It's just one of those things like, did it work or not? And then I don't get too tied to it. So meaning, what I end up doing is, I'll show you in a second, but I have a naming convention, right? And then when I duplicate the campaign, I'll put like August 2nd, 2.0. So I know that this was duplicated a second time. So when I go through and I look at my ad stats and I'm looking for, let's just say I put it in the creative in the search bar, and then all the creatives come up, I can see 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. Oh, I've duplicated this 5 times. The 3 and 4 didn't work, but the other ones did. So typically, unless I'm scaling really quick, typically when a campaign's producing, I just duplicate it once. Meaning, campaign's working, duplicate it. It's working, I'll duplicate it again. Great. Unless I want to scale really quick, there's not a lot of times, which I probably could, but there's not a lot of times where I take this one ad that's working and I duplicate it 5 times to see if 3 out of the 5 work. It probably would. Just meaning it's probably if I already have a campaign that's running for a couple of days and I duplicate it 5 or let's just say 7 times the same campaign, my likelihood of not getting any leads or sales from them 7 campaigns is pretty low. Most of the times what I would see is at least half the campaigns are making sales or leads, and it makes up for the overall average. So that's what I see on my end. I hope that makes sense. Usually I'm just duplicating one at a time and then changing the naming convention so I know how many times it's duplicated. There's not a lot of times where I duplicate the same one and say, hey, duplicate this 5 times to see what that works. But I unequivocally could test for the budget. That would be something that I would test, yes. And many times it's just, does it work or does it not? So it's not, hey, I'm going to duplicate it, 90% is going to win. But it's probably better, I was telling Nick this, I would say 30 to 40% of the time when you duplicate a campaign, it's going to win again. And I would take those odds to Vegas. Just a way to look at it. So you think, how do we get rid of Advantage plus detail targeting for the campaigns where Facebook forces you to do it? There's a little place that you can scroll down in the Advantage plus targeting and you can unlock it where it goes to standard targeting. I can show you an example of that here in a couple of minutes as well too. I love this. This is the meat and potatoes. Got that right. or the tacos. We couldn't figure out a little taco speech in there. Includes leads conversions. Yes. I have to leave now. Thanks so much for the information replay. Absolutely. Targeting can greatly affect conversion rates. Absolutely. I assume you address this by testing multiple audiences before making decisions. 100%, Scott. So what a client will typically do with me is they'll give me a piece of creative, and then I'm typically going to test 4 to 5 top of funnel audiences and 2 bottom of funnel. It's because just sometimes a campaign doesn't work, but I'll just try 2 of them kind of middle funnel and see if it works. Out of 7 campaigns, 7 out of these 7 different combinations over the course of 3 or 4 days, if I don't get that ad creative work, just didn't work. It's just done. I could maybe test and play around with it some more, but like it just didn't work. And we'll find stuff that we'll just put in and it just works. So usually I'll test those different audiences. If I don't see any of the audiences that have worked before the middle of the funnel, it just didn't work. Yep, Nick put in the link for this 3-pillar training. Yes, I'm leaving the 7-day attribution. Great question. Great question. How do you get out of learning with so few conversions for a high ticket offer? Don't worry about the get out of learning at all. It actually just keeps on providing me good stats, which is good. If we already purchased the belt method, we get access to the update. We'll make a sweet deal for you like we always have. Jeremy, I know you've been with us for years. It's new content, new information. And I have a new baby girl, so she needs some new shoes. So besides all those new things, we'll give you a discount, but yeah, we'll figure that one out. Looking forward to the replay and the bundle offer. Got it. Totally understand. Highly recommend. Thank you, Michael. You came on in here. Any offers for the OG crew? Absolutely. There's lots of OG crew here. Right on. Fascinated. Thank you. Fascinated. I want more of it. Oh, we got more of this. This is great. About the package. Thank you, Cole. So good to see you here, by the way. It's really good to have you here, and I'm honored. Thank you very much. Great job. Perfect amount of information. Great. Micro approach. Happy to jump on camera, which you did. Oh, Michael, I didn't know you knew Cole. Oh, this is so good. I'm just reading some other feedback, which is great. With multiple interests, you're targeting. With multiple interests, you're talking about using or to find people who like any of them. So just to be interested, John, great question. It used to be, hey, did somebody like the John Assaraf page? Did somebody like the Tony Robbins page? And that's the people we're targeting. But now because of interest and stuff like that, Facebook can really decide, oh, this person's interested in science, they're interested in math, they're interested in all these different types of concepts. We talked about this in yesterday's training, or in the training we did the other day, which essentially is, I believe that the algorithm's made up as a 45-day window, or roughly right around that, which essentially means that within the last 45 days, they have completed some kind of relevant task related to the interest. So their income's at this certain level, they visited these types of places, they like this type of interest. It should be relevant and not something that they liked 10 years ago that they're no longer interested in now. It should be that this should be really relevant within the last 30 to 45 days. That's why I say do interest suggested targeting, because they're always updating. People are always changing their interests. I should put that in the presentation, Nick, like people's opinions and overall their belief systems change on a regular basis. So if we're working off a lookalike leads, that's data of what used to work for us that looks like stuff now. What I want to be able to do is to target interests that are very relevant in a recent amount of time, if that makes sense. All right, Nick, I think I have covered all the questions.